Hi, and welcome again to 12-Minute Prep. In this lesson, we will go over important facts that you should be aware of as you start preparing for the PI Cognitive Assessment. This includes the test's content and format, some sample questions, the scoring methods used in this test, and we will also go over the curriculum of this course to better understand how I can help you maximize your score potential on this assessment. Let's start. The PI, like many other pre-employment cognitive ability tests, measures general mental ability, which is said to be a predictor of job performance. It was previously known as the Professional Learning Indicator, or the PLI test. You should expect 2 rounds of testing. The first is done remotely, via a link that will be sent to your email. The second verification test will be administered at the employer's premises. Nowadays, with the effects of COVID-19, there may be a single remote testing round in which you'll be asked to turn on your webcam to make sure that your session is recorded. Cheating on the remote assessment by using a calculator or having someone take the test for you will prove as the wrong thing to do. If the score on the second test will be clearly lower than the first test, a cheating flag will be raised. If, however, you score higher on test number 2, then the last score will be taken into account, which is even better for you. As for the format of the test, there are 50 questions and the time allotted is 12 minutes. A timer shows up at the top right corner of the screen, counting down in minutes but not in seconds. One could say that you have 14.4 seconds on average per question, but you will see later in this course that the average timing perspective is not the way to ace this test. The questions are in multiple choice format, with 4 answer options and a single correct answer. Each page will present 5 questions, which means 10 pages in total. We will discuss later whether you should or should not navigate back and forth between those pages. There are extended versions of the assessment, with 18 and 24 minutes for candidates with special accommodations and disabilities. Each correct answer is worth a single point, and there is no negative scoring for incorrect answers. The population's average amount of correct answers is 20. Less than 1% of the population can answer all 50 questions correctly. Each job requires a different score, but my experience shows that the most competitive, sought-after jobs, and also senior jobs, usually require a score of at least 28 and could be even higher, towards the 32 or 34. The PI adopted a scaled score system in which your raw score is converted to a score on a 100 to 450 scale. Here we can see that the average score of 20 correct answers is converted to 250 on the scaled system. Any score above 40 equals 450 on the scaled system and is considered to be in the 99th percentile of the population. The PI is available in 80 languages, and you can choose your language prior to starting the test, regardless of the language in which the invitation was sent. Please be aware that completing the test in a second language or a language you're not fluent with can have a serious negative impact on your score. Later in this course, I'll provide more specific information on how to predict your score if English is not your native language. There are 3 main cognitive sections in the test: abstract reasoning, numerical reasoning, and verbal reasoning. Each of these areas has a dedicated lesson in this course, and we will discuss that later. The abstract reasoning section includes 3 question styles: shape series, in which you're asked to complete a pattern of 3 or 4 horizontal frames; shape analogies, which ask you to complete a missing pair of shapes that show the same relationship as another pair of shapes; and lastly, identifying the odd image out of a group of 6 images. The numerical reasoning section prohibits the use of a calculator and includes number series, various types of word problems, and fraction value. The verbal reasoning section includes antonyms, analogies, and logical deductive reasoning questions in the form of assumptions and conclusions. I cannot stress enough the importance of preparing for this test. Before you even take my word, see what the publisher of the test, the Predictive Index Company, has to say about this. It is actually ideal when an assessment taker is trained or familiar with the PI item types, as it gives the company the best possible insight into the candidate's true potential. This quote is taken from a brochure that's handed over to employers and recruiters who are considering to purchase the PI for their own purposes. If you skip the prep stage, you're missing out on realizing your real score potential, and that can cost you the job. Here's just a modest example of how things can look for a candidate before and after taking a prep course. Imagine John's starting point prior to practice is 19 out of 50 correct answers, which puts him above 46% of the population. Completing a course with a thorough review of each question type, teaching him how to shortcut his response times and spot the traps more easily with practice examples, and then having him complete full-length simulations that let him train in real test conditions, can get him to score 24 questions correct, which is above 70% of the population. That is, with the help of preparation, John got past almost 30% of the population of candidates, and this is a modest success story on my website. Even if we take a much more modest scenario, there's absolutely no advantage in running into this test unprepared. And this is where 12-minute prep steps in. You will get a 360 preparation experience. Lessons for each section and question type, summary quizzes plus explanations and solving tips to reduce response times, score reports to identify your strengths and weaknesses, full-length practice tests to simulate real test conditions, test taking and time management strategies, the option to take a one-on-one coaching session with a test expert who will help you maximize your own score potential. My PI prep course was taken by thousands of candidates to date. It is listed as a recommended resource among recruiters and HR teams, and you can check the reviews tab to read real success stories of candidates who made it. That's it. With no further ado, let's start training.